Hey, good morning, everybody. It is great to have you back with us today. It is Thursday morning, and looking forward to jumping back into the book of Philippians with you. Had a good time last night in personally for me, had a good time in our men's class last night. Good discussion about what the Lord has led us as men to be and to do for our families and to bless other people. And so we had a good time last night. And I know our ladies did as well in their class, and all the other kids. I saw a bunch of kids outside doing some fun things last night with our kids ministry. So excited about all that stuff. Our students got back from Kentucky, had a great trip there. Proud of them and the work they did there and their accomplishments and all that was going on with those things. One thing I want to mention is that there's a ton of different things going on here with and through the church family over the next couple of weeks. And so I can't mention all of them because obviously my brain doesn't work at that capacity. But we do have several events coming up. We've got we have a student ministry activity coming up on the 26th. That is a silent disco night. And the kids are going to have a great time with that. There's been a lot of things that have gone into that planning-wise, and so it's going to be a fun night of just fun and good fellowship. And so if you've got a middle school or high school student, that's on the 26th. Also on the 26th and the 27th, there is a late kids camping trip, and so our late kids, our elementary age kids, are going on a camping trip and learning some things about the outdoors, and are going to be doing some fun things. And I know there's some exciting things happening with that. That's on the 26th and 27th, an overnight thing on that Friday night. Then we've got Easter coming up, and Easter weekend we've got a lot of stuff happening. There's our spring fling, where we're doing kind of a block party for our community. We're inviting people to come and join us. There's going to be pony rides and petting zoo type stuff. There's going to be some inflatable games to play, and going to be all kind of good food. There's a car show that same night, so a lot of stuff happening. Our band, our worship team is going to be out playing and leading us in worship that night as well. So it's just going to be a great night. Love to have you invite someone to join us for that. That'll be on Friday, April the 2nd, from 5 to 8 o'clock at night. So and then we obviously have Easter. So just tons and tons of stuff. We got family retreat coming up in the middle of April. So I'm not trying to make this a commercial, but a lot of stuff happening, and we would certainly love to have you involved with all of those things if that fits your schedule. So with all that said, get involved. If you haven't downloaded our app, do that. All that information is on the app. It helps you stay on top of all the things that are going on. And so make sure you do that. There's an events page on our app that just helps you kind of coordinate what's going on. There's some areas you can register online as well for certain things. So please take time to do that. One other thing I want to mention, and that is this Sunday we start our Next Step classes. Next Step classes are for anybody who is interested in knowing more about the church, but also how to get plugged into ministry here. How do you jump into ministry and do use your talents and gifts and abilities to be used by God in that moment? So we'll talk more about that this weekend, but love to have you come to that. It's on Sunday at noon if you're interested in that. But today, listen, Philippians chapter 4, and I'm going to read several verses, and we're just going to talk just for a moment here about some important things. Philippians chapter 4, verse 10. And Paul says, I rejoice greatly in the Lord that at last you renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you were concerned, but you had no opportunity to show it. I am not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all this through him who gives me strength. This is one of my favorite passages of Scripture. For many people, they love Philippians 4, verse 13. I can do all things through Christ who gives me the strength. Talk about that in just a few moments. I love what Paul says here to the church of Philippi. Remember, Paul had this great relationship with the believers in Philippi. He helped start this church, so it's near and dear to him. They had been supportive of him, and we'll see more of that in the latter part of chapter 4 here. But Paul says, you renewed your concern for me. Paul says, it's not like you never had concern. It just says that you renewed it, meaning not concern like we're worried about you, but concern like, hey, we are concerned. We recognize your problem, Paul. We recognize your hardship you've been through. So let's do something about it. It was this supportive mentality that the people in Philippi had for Paul, to the degree that they sent support to him. So Epaphroditus was this believer that left Philippi and brought this support to Paul. Remember, if you're in prison where Paul was, if people did not bring you supplies, you didn't get anything. So they brought him maybe some supplies, maybe monetary support in his plight where he was in prison. And so they just had this concern for him. He said, you showed me support. It was tangible support, right? You met my needs. We'll read about that a little bit later in chapter 4, that they didn't just see a need and then dismiss it, but rather they acted upon the need that was at hand in the life of Paul. And then Paul goes in this idea of saying, listen, I want you to know that I'm not saying this because I need more stuff. He's saying this because he's really appreciative of what they've done for him. But then he goes into this idea of really clarifying this idea that he has learned this great secret. He says, I've learned the secret of being content, whatever the circumstances. We talked a little bit about that yesterday, right? That this idea of our content spirit in Jesus is not predicated on our conditions. It's not predicated on our environment. It's not predicated on our bank account or our refrigerator status or our friend status or our relationships. It's not predicated on any of that stuff. That our joy and our satisfaction and our fulfillment and our content spirit is purely rooted in our relationship with Jesus. It's purely related to our oneness with Christ. And so he said, I have learned the secret. That word secret means mystery, right? It's the mystery that eludes most people in the world, because most people in our world are running after joy in the accomplishments that they have in life, or the acquisitions they have in life, right? What they possess and what they buy and what they're able to purchase and the money they chase after. That's what most people are doing. And for them, this makes no sense, right? How can you be content when you don't have anything in your bank account? How can you be content when you have cancer? How can you be content when you have lost your family? How can you be content when you lost your job? It makes no sense to the world. So it is a secret. It is a mystery, because to the world it's foolishness. Why would we be joyful when we don't have what the world has, if that's your condition? And that is only because of what we have in Jesus. I heard this great equation years ago that someone said, me plus everything equals nothing, but me plus Jesus equals everything. I can have nothing, right? I can have nothing, but if I throw Jesus in the mix, I've got everything. But if we have everything in the world, yet we don't have Jesus, we have nothing. And so we need to make sure that we're rooted in Jesus, not our circumstances or our environment at all, because that's not where joy is rooted at. And then lastly, I wanted to say this really quickly. He says in Philippians 4, verse 13, probably one of the most quoted verses, but also one of the most misunderstood verses. Philippians chapter 4, verse 13, Paul says, I can do all this, or maybe you've read it, I can do all things through Christ who gives me the strength, through the one who gives me the strength. We love this scripture. We love this, and people put it on, I don't know, they get it tattooed on their bodies. They write it on the eye paint underneath for athletes and stuff like that. We see it on wristbands. We see it on bumper stickers, all this different stuff, right? Philippians 4:13, great verse. Great verse. I think it's taken out of context so many times. The context in which Paul is writing this is that he says, I can be content in all circumstances. I can be fulfilled despite my environment that I live in, despite the hardship, despite prison, despite false accusations, all this. I can be content no matter my situation. Paul is saying that I will trust God to supply all my needs. That if I'm in want, if I'm hungry, if I'm in poverty, I will trust God to supply all my needs. This verse does not say that you can do anything you choose to do. That's not what it says. I've heard parents tell their kids, I've heard people tell other people and quote this verse and say, you can do anything you set your mind to. That's not what this verse is saying. I think we have to be careful of that. Now, I'm not down on the idea of positive thinking. I'm not down on the idea of building our kids up and giving them a desire to achieve more and do great things and be successful. I'm not down on that, right? Certainly not down on that. What I'm saying is, I think it is wrong to tell our kid, you can do anything you can do if you set your mind to it. Here's the thing. I hear that in the sports world all the time. I hear athletic people talk about that. Hey, you can do anything you set your mind to. No, you can't. I'm not trying to be rude in that, but you can't do that. I've heard parents tell their kids, listen, you set your mind to it and you can become a professional athlete. That's not accurate. This verse does not tell you that you will be able to, that Jesus is going to give you the strength to become a professional baseball player or a professional football player. You either have that ability or you don't. Yes, there's a lot of hard work and there's discipline, but there is a lot of just God-given raw athletic ability that comes to some people, and some people don't have it. And if you don't have that, doesn't matter how long you practice or how hard you work out or how hard you train, you are not going to be a professional athlete. You're just not going to. Listen, I could go and take as many vocal coaching lessons as I could. I am never going to be a good singer. It just isn't going to work. I might get a little better, but I'm not going to be good. That's just not the gift that God has given me. So I think we have to be careful not to take this out of context and make it say like, hey, I'm going to be good at this because God tells me I can do anything. No, the context of this scripture is that God will supply us our strength to stand up under any pressure, any hardship, any adversity in our life. We have to understand that context. Yes, let's be confident in the Lord that he will give us strength, but not so that we can make millions of dollars, not so that we can get this pipe dream that we have. The idea there is that we would suffer well, that we would stay faithful to the Lord despite what's going on in our life. So be encouraged by that. Don't beat your kid up that he's not going to be a professional athlete. Encourage him. Let him play ball. All right, let's pray. God, we love you, and we are grateful that you care about us and you coach us through these circumstances in our life. I'm grateful, God, that regardless of what we walk through in life, you give us joy and fulfillment. And I pray that we would root ourselves in that. Lord, we do love the scripture that we can do all things through Christ. And we believe that, God, that you will give us what we need in Jesus to not so much be profitable in our life, but you will give us what we need in Jesus so that we would make much of you. That God, we would make your name great, that we would be faithful to you. That's the goal, God, that we would please you, and you give us everything we need to do that. So help us rely on you for those things, and help us to trust you, even in our areas of our life that we feel like we're lacking. Help us to be an example to the world of having trust in you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Hey, look forward to seeing you this weekend, Sunday morning. We continue our series on the Passion Week. I'll just tell you, we're talking about cleansing the temple this week. And we're talking about Matthew 25, the parable of the sheep and goats. And we'll talk more about that this weekend on Sunday. God bless. See you soon.